Unit 8. Lesson 1. Crime and Punishment. It isn't very fashionable nowadays to express enthusiasm for the police and the way laws are enforced. In the U.S. and elsewhere, anger over abuses by the criminal justice system has grown. There are movements to reduce police forces or even abolish them, along with prisons. Some of the complaints by activists are valid. No criminal justice system is perfect. But the more extreme demands to remove punishment from the legal system are wrong and almost certain to fail. Punishment helps to keep social order and provides justice for victims in a way that satisfies a deep human instinct for fairness. Another word for punishment is retribution, and the punishment model for dealing with crime is sometimes called retributive justice. One obvious argument for this model is that punishment deters crime. If societies don't impose punishment on criminals, then respect for the law declines and chaos results. The Harvard psychologist Steven Pinker describes this phenomenon in his book, The Blank Slate. In 1969, teenage Steven didn't believe in police or prisons, or even government. Then one morning, the police in his hometown of Montreal announced they were going on strike. By the end of the day, 6 banks had been robbed, 100 shops had been looted, 12 fires had been set, and $3 million in property damage had been inflicted. The city authorities had to bring in the army to restore order. Pinker was thus forced to rethink some of his assumptions. It was clear, he realized, why people committed those crimes. With no police to put them in jail, they expected no consequences. One other reason for punishment concerns fairness. Retributive justice is based on the idea that if you have made an innocent person suffer by breaking the law, you deserve to suffer a similar amount. This is true regardless of any practical effects like deterring crime. In this way, it is a moral principle. For example, the U.S. system has a custom called the Victim Impact Statement. Before a person is sentenced for a serious crime, the victim, or in cases of murder, the victim's loved ones, speaks in court. They describe the often terrible effects that the crime has had on their life. Judges and juries consider these statements when deciding a criminal's sentence. The goal is for the punishment to be appropriate for the amount of harm done. Crimes are committed against the community as well as against individuals. The 18th century German philosopher Immanuel Kant compared crime to debt. In this view, when everyone behaves themselves, everyone enjoys the benefits of peace and order. But if you break the law, you have enjoyed those benefits without restraining yourself as your neighbors have. This is clearly unfair, so you owe them a debt that must be paid. Punishment is payment. Today, we often describe serving a prison sentence as paying one's debt to society. This idea of punishment as a mechanism for correcting wrongs isn't just a philosophy, but is built into our psychology. Across cultures, research consistently shows that people are eager to punish others for doing something wrong, even at a cost to themselves. A 2020 study published in the journal Evolution and Human Behavior paired up strangers in an online game using real money. In the game, players had opportunities to steal from one another and refused to share freely earned resources. In both cases, victims were willing to pay their own money to impose fines on unfair and selfish players. Why is the instinct to punish so strong? Humans are a highly social species. We've evolved a psychological need to punish harm and unfairness because of our need to live in groups peacefully. It would be quite hard to maintain a community if our neighbors could inflict suffering on others without negative consequences, as Pinker's story shows. Civilization is delicate, and humans aren't perfect. The threat of punishment is an effective way to prevent people from acting on their worst instincts. Supporters of abolishing police, prisons, or punishment, in general, are not being realistic. Not only would such measures increase crime, but they would also violate our fundamental sense of justice for victims and the community as a whole.